Hi, and welcome to TBGS Podcast, that board game show. I'm Sonja Wood, and I'm in the studio today with my son James.
Hello.
There he is. In fact, he's been joining me recently in the last 5 or 10 or something podcasts, which is fun because it happens to be that James and I play a lot of board games, just the two of us. So we do a lot of two-player experience when it comes to board games on the table. And that's different in the last season of our life because prior to that it was family, and prior to that it was, well, when I was a child I played board games growing up, when that was an even bigger crowd because I came from a larger family. So
then playing with friends as well in childhood. Cousins, friends. It was always the go-to activity when we had a group.
Yeah, exactly. So as you can tell, board games is a thing. We like board games. And at the moment in this season of our life, it's two-player games, which, as I've just said, is quite different, but very good. We enjoy it. And in fact, we have had a wonderful two-player experience of the most recent game in our library, which we were very excited about getting. We waited a long, long time for it, because that's what you do when you're in South Africa. You wait a long, long time for the games you want. And we waited after we had got it. Jamie did an unboxing. Not an unboxing. Tell us what you did with the video for this game.
A video which, at the time of this recording, has just gone live on the TBGS YouTube channel, organizing all the components and bits for ISS Vanguard.
There we are. He gave it the name. So I was keeping you in suspense for a bit. You see. So the name of the game is ISS Vanguard, a space game. It's wonderful. And so Jamie did this video of how to organize the box before you start playing. That's a couple of hours right there.
A couple hours real time. I think I edited it down to about just over an hour.
Yeah, and he was thinking it was too long, but it seems that people have been watching it and enjoying it, and he's been getting comments as well to say that so yay. But if you...
Somebody commented that they're super, super, super hyped about the game coming because they've ordered it and it's coming in a second printing, so
they also have to wait.
Waiting and hoping, so in December, January, they're hoping to get it.
And by that time, your tutorial explainer video for it, because so you did the
playthrough tutorial. So I did the box organizing video because the game has got like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cards that all need to be peeled out of their shrink wrap and organized into their little trays, so that while you're playing the game, when it tells you to pull out card B1, you don't spend half an hour looking for card B1.
Because you've organized it.
Because you've organized it. And B1 is just in the tray that says B, and there it is. And so I've done the organizing video, and now coming soon to the channel is going to be the playthrough tutorial. So
it's another thing the rulebook suggested that a person plays through the whole tutorial.
So before you introduce it to a group, they recommend one player plays through the tutorial, because there is a tutorial mission. You can just play the tutorial as a group if you want, but it's going to then be a much longer initial session than if just one person goes through it.
So you did that and you filmed it. And then I watched the filming because I proof the videos that Jamie makes. I watched that for the proofing purpose, but it had a double purpose. Well, more than double. But anyway, I got to have the pleasure of watching it and learning, so that when it was time to actually play the game and do the first mission or play the first scenario, because it's a campaign-y type of a game.
It's a pure campaign game. That's the whole...
Right.
It's almost more story than game.
Yeah, and I tell you, well, I can tell you a lot about this game, but I tell you, let's just carry on from where we were, and that is I watched the video for proofing purposes so that it can be scheduled, and it's going up early December of 2023. And then we set aside a time because we decided we're going to commit to this game. And we are very glad we did this. So we want to tell you about this in this podcast because it was so, so worthwhile committing to blocks of time for this game, because we did the same with the pandemic campaign games.
Yeah, for Pandemic Legacy Seasons 1, 2, and 0.
We just put them on the table and we didn't play anything else. And we just, every time we could, we went back to it and we just carried on with all the way through the campaign until it was the end. But unfortunately, with ISS Vanguard, I shouldn't say unfortunately, let me rather say fortunately, with ISS Vanguard, the campaign is in about 60 hours to finish it.
Thereabouts, that's what I've heard from reviews and things.
And do you want
It
to
will
tell them how
depend on
many...
which path you take and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, but how many hours have we played so far?
So far, we've clocked up 24 hours.
How about that? So now we're
in
talking...
1 week.
We're talking from experience now. You see, we are experienced ISS Vanguard player. We put 24 hours into playing this game, and every single one of those hours was enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
For me, for the kind of game I like, the kind of experience at the table, it was just so enjoyable. There's so many elements about it that make it enjoyable, according to what I like, with my preference in board game playing. What was your experience? Would you say the same?
Oh, yeah. I'd say, yeah, everything about it just ticked the boxes. I think it is very heavily narrative, first and foremost. So it's very much a story that you're playing through, and it helps that story is, in my opinion, excellent. Very well written, very well performed, and we're using the companion app, so you have two options of how you can play. You can play with a physical logbook, so when you explore a location, it'll say go to log XYZ. And then when you go to that log, you can either pull out the logbook and just read out what's happening, or what we're doing is using the companion app, which has every single log in the logbook fully dramatized, voice acted, sound effects, the whole works. So it's...
The voice acting is so good.
Oh, it's superb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they really got some top-class voice actors to pull it off.
Thank you to the voice actors. There were times, let me tell you how good this voice acting was, there were times that I realized that I was completely immersed in the story while I was listening to the narration, the voice acting. It was so well done that I felt like I was there. That is excellent.
It's what I imagine an experience could be like if you were playing an RPG with like an amazing GM, because it's just fully immersive. What the GM would be doing as far as telling the story and taking you on the journey and exploring this world. The app and the story that's written there is doing that for us. And the thing that keeps coming to me while we've been playing it is it's the closest board game equivalent I've experienced so far of a TV show. It feels like each time you play a session, it feels like you've watched an episode of Star Trek or Lost in Space or...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Or Stargate or something, one of these sci-fi TV shows. It gives me that experience because of the narrative, because of the story, and because of also what you're doing. So in the game, it's divided up into... Each session is divided up into sort of 3 distinct sections. So you start in the ship book, which is your ship, and you do a whole bunch of admin-y type stuff. And, you'll pull together your crew, you'll go to different, departments of the ship, you'll go to your research lab, you'll go to your production complex, you'll go to your barracks to recruit more crew.
And in case you want to know what Jamie's talking about, go watch the video. Because really, it explains what you're saying now, shipbook and
to a point, my video doesn't really go into the shipbook extensively.
True.
I sort of page through it, but the tutorial is focused mainly on the meat of the gameplay, which is the second part. So the first part is shipbook, all of that stuff. And then you get to a point where you go to the hangar, you load up a lander, and then you take that lander and you go land on a planet. And now you explore the planet or the object or meteor or whatever it is you land on. And you go and then you do the planetary exploration phase, which is the part that the tutorial video focuses on. And then that is where you're actually moving around a map. You've got your miniatures. You're going from location to location. You're revealing cards. You're dealing with threats. You're encountering stuff.
And the thing is about that is it's cooperative. So you
Yeah.
don't just go off on your own mission.
No, it's fully
It's
cooperative.
like I'm saying, okay, Jamie, do you think we should? Well, in actual fact, all our characters have got names. So we become the character of the name, whatever the person's name is, Christoph or whatever. So, okay, Christoph, are you going to do this or that? And I'll do the other. And is it one of us is going to collect the minerals that we are required for this objective, while the other one takes care of the threat that's on this planet, whatever it might be. So it's a very combined decision-making all the way along.
It has to be. I think if you just, have somebody go off on their own, you're probably going to lose.
And you said earlier, I wanted to just add to that about it being like a TV show experience for me, for you. I understand what you're saying about that because I would agree that it's like that. But for me, even more.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I'm watching a TV show, I'm just watching it. Whereas this is like a story playing out, and I'm part of the story. I'm one of the I'm one of the characters in the story.
It's like a hybrid TV show RPG experience because
that's exactly
it's
what
got
it's like.
the drama and the production and everything of a TV show, but then the immersiveness, and you're actually, as players, you have agency in the story. You're deciding what to do next, and the choices you make have consequences later on. So when you're done with your planetary exploration phase, you then take off from the planet,
You leave the planet,
hopefully.
lift off.
That's the plan. Doesn't always happen.
Sometimes you die. Spoiler.
And then you'll go back to the ship, and you'll do a whole bunch more admin. You'll offload your lander, if it made it back to the ship. And you'll send your crew that got injured to the med bay, and you'll plug your crew that died into the memorial wall.
And if your crew didn't get too injured on the exploration on the planet, they come back and they go to the med bay and
if they're not injured at all, they just go straight into resting. So in one of the card trays, there's a little resting crew divider.
they're going to have a little rest.
So they go have a rest. So that crew member that you use for that exploration isn't available to you immediately. You can't just keep using the same people.
Then there's others that are ready and waiting and trained up in certain ways and not trained up in others. So you've got to select somebody who's going to be a good character to go on this next exploration. And what do we have to do on this next exploration? It is just immersive. It is just ongoing. It draws you back. I think when a game keeps calling you back, to me, that's an excellent, excellent game. But I also don't want to go too far away from something else that was happening for me while playing this game, is my mind was blown by the developers, designers, artists, voiceover artists. It was, that's just what I thought about even more than the game, was the incredible genius. Really, I just, wow. I want to say thank you to these guys. I don't know how long it took them to make this game. And
Several years, I'm sure, at least.
well, I mean, if they could have witnessed, if they could just know that we actually were so serious about committing to this game that we took it with us on a holiday. We booked a time away. That's how committed we were. And we went away. We can call it a holiday because we unplugged and turned off everything. And what did we do? We played ISS Vanguard and went for a walk and played ISS Vanguard and went for a walk and played ISS, and then had some ice cream and played ISS Vanguard. So it was just, that's why we got 24 hours of play in, because it was just play, play, play. And all of that time I'm thinking about how much I would love it if the designers and voice artists and everybody knew the amount of pleasure that we were getting out of this game. Absolutely incredible. I'd just say thank you to them because, wow, what an experience.
Yeah, you can tell it definitely as a labor of love. This is a passion project extreme for the team of people that pulled it together. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it is. That's what I say. I was thinking about that so much and my mind was just completely blown about that. I still cannot even comprehend how on earth they managed to create what they did. It just intrigues me because it's so involved and it's so detailed. It's like I want to know, how did you do this? Because it's just incredible. It's just absolutely incredible. I wonder if they did a video actually, or I wonder if there's anything about the designers or developers of this game.
I don't know if they've done any like interview type videos. Not that I've seen. They've got videos as far as they've got trailers. They've got a little cinematic trailer for the game. They've got promotional stuff, that kind of thing. And obviously there's loads of videos out there for it. But as far as like actually talking to the designers about the process, I haven't seen anything along those lines.
Well, if it comes up, we'll be watching. And
if it is out there and you're listening and you know of that, let us know down in the comments.
Yes, please tell us. Yeah, we want to know. But after committing that time to it, you can't just actually come home and put it all in its box and put it on the shelf and say, well, that was that, because that's not that when it comes to ISS Vanguard.
Campaign is not finished.
It's just the start. So we're going to be committing a day a week, well, a time each week. I can't say a day. We're going to be
a session a week.
And we worked out that it's minimum 2 hours, maximum 4.
Yeah, it's around about 2 to 4 hours per full session.
Yeah, to start at the shipbook, like Jamie was saying, and then go on your planetary exploration, and then come back to the shipbook and, put your people in the med bay if need be, and put some to rest, and so on and so forth. There's a lot that goes on in organizing when you come back to the ship. And the ship is the ISS Vanguard.
Yeah.
It is this big spaceship.
And it might sound like just admin, but there's actually a lot of gameplay decision-making in those shipbook admin steps.
So it's like a continuation of the game, basically.
Yeah. What research project you decide to tackle next, or what production project that you decide to move along, or which crew you recruit, or all of these things are, going to dramatically impact what you can do in subsequent explorations and subsequent sessions.
And which planet are you going to visit next?
Yeah.
And they got the star map book, where it's all these various planets on this map. I mean, we don't want to give too much away about it all, but the thing is
basically you've got a systems little booklet.
Yes.
And each page is a different star system. So you're basically flying your massive generational International Space Station on steroids ship from system to system to system, hunting for clues. And that's as much as I'll tell you.
And the other thing is you start on the ISS Vanguard, and then you can go off in your, what they call a lander.
Yeah. That's how you go onto a planet.
And you start off with a lander, but then you can get other landers along the way, but you got to work for them. And then your lander might also get damaged in one of your explorations, and then you won't have that lander anymore. And it just goes on and on. And I tell you what, if anybody who's listening to this likes space games, well, it's hard to tell people that this game you're going to love, because it depends on the individual.
You've got to just take everything we've said thus far, and if it sounds good to you, dive in, and if it doesn't, well then.
So we heard things about it that we thought, oh, intriguing. Oh, yes, we like the sound of that. And now it's actually even way beyond what we thought. We just liked the sound of it. Let's get it, and let's see how we go with a big game. When I say big, I mean big, and it's a huge box, and it's big in its entirety in every aspect of it.
Well, it's a commitment as well. It's one that I think you have to be sure about before diving into, unless, of course, you can play a friend's copy or something.
And you need time.
Yeah.
It's a big
time commitment. Big time commitment. And I think I think if you were to dive into it and just play it sporadically, it doesn't lend itself to that. It wants you to keep going. It's like, again, the TV show analogy, it's like watching a series. And if you watch episode 1 and then a month later you watch episode 2, you don't necessarily remember everything that happened in episode 1, and so now you've got to try and recap and remember. And whereas if you just keep going and you watch an episode every week, it just keeps that story going, and you commit to that season. So it feels a bit like that. It's one that you need to commit to. You need to decide, okay, this is the main game we're going to be playing until the story is complete.
That is it. I mean, it isn't something that you just pick up and put down. And I think that's one of the things that one needs to consider when wondering whether they should get it or not, because we know now that we just decided, without hearing anything, we just decided we're going to commit a chunk of time because we know how well that went with the pandemic campaign type of games, and we saw what was involved, and you did the box organizing, and we said, okay, let's commit a chunk of time.
Yeah.
And we are very, very glad we did that. We believe we got more out of the experience because we did that.
Especially starting the campaign. I think now that we've started it, we can start spacing it out a bit more, and taking our time with it and enjoying it a bit more slowly. But I think, getting started to play those first few sessions, if at the very least you could dedicate like a weekend to it, or like a long weekend, and just play it every day for a few days running, and just really get your teeth sunk into the meat of the campaign and the story and the rhythm of the play.
But you see, we've got into the meat of it, and I know I've got a whole lot of my people on medbay at the moment. I can't just leave them there. I've got to go back and help them. I've got to get them out of medbay. You see what happens now? That's what happens to me when I play these kind of games. I carry on thinking about the characters. We've had a few games like this in the past where I can't turn it off. The fact that I'm thinking about those. And it's just a game. I know it's just a game. I get that. But I'm just letting the people know who made this game how brilliant they are in getting us so immersed. So that is how brilliant this game is, I think, is when it can involve you so much and get you so immersed. I know everybody is an individual and they're going to have a different experience, but my experience has been I am completely hooked. And I just love this game. It's really, we were talking about it because we don't like to review things and give them scores and ratings, and it's just not what we do. That's not what the TBGS, that board game show is all about.
We show you the game, or tell you about the game, and let you draw your own conclusions from that.
However, in our own personal capacity, when we were talking about it, we were giving it very high scores. And so that, again, speaks a lot for how excellent the game is and how much we enjoyed it. Also, when it comes to the actual playing time, one thing that I discovered when playing this game, the process of sitting and playing it, we first off discovered it was easier to sit side by side rather than on either side of the table.
Yeah.
Just that's a practical thing. But sitting side by side, we had the ship book there and we had the planet
You can
thing.
both read everything. You can see the map in front of you clearly. You're not reading stuff upside down. Or
And the other thing I discovered is my style of playing could just be itself. And your style of playing could do the same. And it wasn't affecting one or the other. For example, if you play a game where the people at the table, the people you're playing with, have a particular style, the game has to lend itself well to different styles. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes a game doesn't do that.
Well, very often a game is a particular style, and
Yes.
you either enjoy that style or you don't.
So if you've got somebody at the table that's very different to what the style of the game is, it's hard for them to enjoy it and for the other people at the table to enjoy it because of that. But what I discovered with this game is I actually think it lends itself to a lot of different kinds of types of players, because we are very different types of players, and yet we could sit and play this campaign game without that element having a negative in any way on the experience of the game.
Well, it's
That's
the
something
nature, I think,
noticed.
thematically, it's the nature of the game. It's meant to be this grand ship crew thing. So I think the whole premise is that everyone's very unique and individual, but all working together towards a common cause.
Yes, that's probably
And
it.
what it's managing to do is, within the theme of the game and within the crew cards that you have and the different section boards. So playing the game, you'll always have all 4 sections. There's science, recon, engineering, and security. So you have those 4 sections, and no matter what player account you're playing, you have all 4 sections in the game. So when you're doing your planetary exploration, or you're managing your crew and you're doing various upgrades and improvements and things, you're thinking about each section as kind of its own thing. So the way the security section is going to play and lend itself to play is going to be different to the science. So when you're playing the game, you can tailor that. So one person who wants to be the gung-ho, run into battle and fight off the threats, they can play the security section, and then that section will lend
Suits
itself
them.
well. The dice they have, the crew they have, the abilities they have, all is tailored towards that kind of play. They tend to be a bit more tough. The characters get stronger the more wounded they are, these kinds of things. Whereas the science section is better at research and figuring stuff out. And so now a player who's more that way inclined can play that section.
Being in the laboratory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think it's brilliant. And it's even that part of the game, even that consideration is what another level of what makes it so excellent. It's just we could just keep going. But I think I think it might be too much if we keep going, because we could just go on. But then I think it's better for people to discover what we discovered.
Yeah.
They can discover for themselves. That's the better way than us try and tell them what they can discover.
You want to go in a little bit blind.
Yes, exactly. Well said. Yeah. So that was our ISS Vanguard week. What a lot of fun. Thank you, ISS Vanguard people who made it possible. And in case you don't know, you probably do by now, but there comes a time where I shoot off to make tea because that's what I do. Always need to have tea. So it's tea time right now. So I'm going to say goodbye, and I'm going to leave you to close off the podcast.
And I will close off the podcast with a friendly reminder that if you've enjoyed this show and you want to continue enjoying it and supporting us to keep making this show possible and keep the videos coming and the podcasts coming, you can support us over on our Patreon page at patreon.com/thatboardgameshow, where we have exclusive behind-the-scenes content, extra videos, all that kind of stuff, and also mainly just helping the show keep going. And also, a recent development is we are now eligible for YouTube memberships. So if you are a YouTube user or YouTube Premium user or one of those things, and you spend your time watching, listening to all the YouTube content, you can support the show through the members page, and again gain access to the same exclusive content that is over on Patreon. And with that, I shall say thank you ever so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the show.